935 KDAY, 90s hip hop back in the day. Noah Ayala, very, very special guest in the building. It's no secret I've been a big fan for a minute. Gary Vee.
What up, Noah?
You know what's funny is I was telling people, I was like, yeah, Gary Vaynerchuk's going to be here. And they're like, who's that? But then I say Gary Vee and they go, oh.
Yeah, man. I'm not sure my dad's happy that I've eliminated the Vaynerchuk part of the whole situation. But yeah, I get it. I've definitely, it's really, you know what's crazy about that is the way Gary Vee is spelled out is with 2 silent E's. It's the only time in my life that I ever did that for a username when Twitter first came out. Every other time, like old MySpace, Friendster, forums, all that.
Friendster.
Remember that? You know, that's for for the 90s hip hop crew. You guys know what I'm talking about.
There was Black Planet and there was Friendster.
Small World is like if you it was Gary Vee with no E's. So it's funny to me that Twitter became the thing that really, really started me being put on. But yeah, man. I know that, and I appreciate the love.
No, we appreciate it, man. And I know you got a lot going on, but I think it's so important that you're here, especially because I feel like, and I'm sure every radio audience can get something out of what you're saying, but I feel like our audience especially, because I mean our listener base is Watts, Compton, IE, San Bernardino, and I feel like, these are the people that could use a lot of what you kind of say the most,
For a couple different reasons. One, it's crazy to me, big shout out to Mount Ida College that isn't around anymore. When I went to school there in Newton, Mass, and one of my best friends in my life is a kid, his name's LA. That's what we call him because he came from LA and his name's Dustin. But when we came and visited him out here, his whole crew, that West Coast vibe, especially during that 90s era, I grew up in an environment where I realized at college, like, yo, all these kids that came from nothing. I mean, like 90% of my friends were on fucking, on financial aid, all screwed up situations back home. But they had the one thing that I knew mattered the most, which is adversity. Adversity is a foundation for success. And now that the internet's around, like, when I live in New York, when I wake up at 4 o'clock for a 6 a.m. flight and I start, going to LGA or JFK, and I see a bunch of kids in line at 5:01 in the morning, and I look at them, I'm like, that's my people. They get it. And now that there's Instagram and YouTube and Spotify and SoundCloud, like all those kids that wanted to be rappers, all those kids that wanted to be entrepreneurs, it used to be hard.
Yeah,
right?
And now it's like, you could put something up tonight and the whole world could see it tomorrow. And
thinking about the people that are listening to this station and listening to this kind of music, like if they're more my age, and things of that nature, we didn't grow up like this.
Right.
We didn't have this opportunity. And by not having, to me, what's amazing is that people that have been historically suppressed from the opportunity can take the most advantage because in the internet world, it's about how hard you hunt. I remember sitting in a dorm room like 3 months in, looking at one of my buddies, I'm like, yo, you're incredible at selling these dime bags. You do know that means you could be a great entrepreneur. And it didn't even register to him.
Right.
Like it didn't register to him that he could take the skill set of why he was charismatic, why he knew how to like break down an ounce, why he these raw street skills, why he was good at spades, why he was good at hearts, why he was, I remember this one kid, the way he would play CeeLo, like the way he would win, put a little in, like I was like, man, you're gonna know how to really use money.
Right.
And but nobody was making that connection. Nobody was singing about it.
That's why, to give you your props, I feel like you're so important because, I feel like you can take, a drug dealer on the street, and that's basically, you're running a Fortune 500 company at a certain point. Like, Freeway Ricky Ross was running a Fortune 500 company.
Freeway Ricky Ross and I are about to sit down. He
oh, yeah?
He DM'd me the other day, like, yo, set that meeting up. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
The other thing I do, and this is why some people don't like me, is I don't let people dwell on their lack of privilege. My big thing is like, yo, whatever's screwed up in your life, you didn't have parents, you come from a bad place, you're a minority, you're a female, and there's a glass ceiling in your company. You need to decide if you want to sit and dwell that the system's broken, or do you want to go around the system and get yours? And sometimes people don't like that. They're like, you don't see it, you don't get it. And I'm like, yo, I really, really understand where you're coming from on that. I have empathy. But like, cool, you want to live your life and just complain and dwell and feel like you've been dealt a bad hand. That would mean that nobody in life that played poker who got a 3 and a 7 offsuit ever won a hand. But they have, because they figured it out, right?
Yep.
They manipulated the system. They fronted and tricked everybody else that they had pocket aces. And so I think there's a way, and the internet is that way. And I'm just trying to get people to understand it's going to take a lot of hard work, and you got to get real focused, but it's there for you.
Right. I like how you said hard work right now because, especially in our industry, what we do, I have artists coming to me all the time. Listen to this or do this or put me on the radio, do whatever. And I say the exact same thing you just said. Work hard, it'll come to you. Can you stress that? Because I know you talk about that a lot.
And do you have talent?
And it's so pragmatic.
And do you have talent?
Well,
right?
yeah.
Like, look, you can hustle your tape. It's funny to even think that way. Like, look, one of the great ways to win in music, especially in the urban sector, is win the streets, right?
Yep.
Win the streets. You can win the streets, right? But the problem is, if you got everybody in the streets to actually listen to your song once,
and it's whack, then
it's game over.
Well,
so you got to work on your craft, the songs, and you got to hustle. You got to be the artist, and you have to know how to do distribution. You got to be able to do both.
Right.
That's what I do well. Why do I have 3.7 million followers on Instagram? People ask me because I know how to make great content, but I also know how distribution works. We were just about to go on, and D-Rock and I are talking about the swipe up ad that we're going to make on Instagram stories. I'm out here thinking.
Right.
I'm out here trying. I'm out here still working 15 hours a day, even though I quote unquote made it a decade ago.
Right. Still going hard.
I'm going
probably a little bit harder.
I'm going harder now than I ever have, even though I made it a decade ago. People aren't going hard yet at all, and they're still a decade away from getting it.
Yeah.
That's a problem. And so, yeah, man, listen, I think this is the greatest era to be alive in because, listen, I know what's going on in society. I know about all this, but here's the punchline. This internet thing is no joke.
No joke.
No
And it's
joke.
only evolving and getting crazier. Blockchain and Bitcoin.
And you're preaching it and like you're being thoughtful, but like making it narrow to music, like look at all the biggest artists in the world. Where'd they come from? SoundCloud, Spotify,
yeah,
a video. Like it's different now. It's different now. And you can be in the basement with a laptop making crazy beats. Right?
Yep.
You can record your song. You don't need the studio time the same way. It's just so different.
Yeah.
And so, like, all these kids that are, if you're not making it now, well,
because you definitely would have made it 10, 20 years ago.
Right, where you had to get lucky, quote unquote, because you were playing a show and stuff.
And I think that's the biggest thing. There's no more gatekeepers.
Those A&R people, those record executives, those companies, they don't have the leverage no more.
Yep.
Right? Like, Bretta's Got a Baby almost didn't come out. Almost didn't come out.
That's crazy.
Right? Almost didn't come out. But the Pac of today, she could be sitting, young baby Tate in Atlanta right now, she can just put out what the hell she wants. Euro got it? He doesn't need Birdman to sign him.
Nope.
He could just put it out. That's different.
And people got to take advantage. All right, I know we have you for limited time, so I got to get a couple
go ahead.
of my like techie questions in. IGTV, what are your thoughts?
It's too early. I don't like predicting. I think the thing that has really made me who I am is once it's obvious to me, I'll go loud. So right now it's early. It was an awkward move for me. I didn't think long-form Instagram video was going to take the form of a separate app. I just thought they were going to make it in Instagram the ability to go longer than a minute. It's interesting. I understand why they did it because they maybe didn't want to screw up something that's working.
Mm-hmm.
But so like I don't think it's a YouTube killer by any stretch of the imagination.
Me neither. By any stretch.
By any stretch.
Okay, my other one was...
As a matter of fact, out of all the things Instagram has done in the last 3 years, it's probably a thing that hasn't done as well immediately out of all the things.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think it's going to get some taking used to of the long video. I know we like that because we shoot like that on our phones, but it's still like to watch long form content like that is kind of it's going to take some getting used to. One of my favorite shows, I actually watched every episode, was Planet of the Apps.
Thank you, my guy.
So I saw the article yesterday.
Yes.
When you were talking about Apple's marketing. And I just wanted to say, me and my boss, Jimmy Steele, have the same conversation because we like talking about tech companies.
Yep.
And I think Apple's horrible at marketing. Like, how come Siri isn't Alexa?
Well, that's technology.
But I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying though? Like, just to
man,
like,
listen. I'm very comfortable in my opinion on this. I don't think Apple's a good marketing company either. I think they have a killer product that, oh, by the way, is now like a decade old, and like they've been milking it. Like Tim Cook's a tremendous human being, but outside of EarPods, Apple's been real quiet.
Yeah, and this is coming from a diehard Apple stan, Gary. I had a Macintosh back in the day.
I'm diehard Apple too, my guy. And I haven't had a non-Apple product control my life for 15 years. But like, yeah,
it's getting hard out there.
It's getting hard. They better do something.
Yeah, because I feel like they're kind of kind of like Microsoft when they kind of missed the cell phone boat.
My God,
I feel like Apple was like
what happens to everybody though. Like IBM missed the boat too. Microsoft missed the boat too. Google. Why'd Google let Facebook happen? Why'd Facebook let Instagram happen? Like, it's just evolution. Like our alphas get killed by the next young lion.
All right, so now we can't have you here and not have a little bit of hip hop talk, man. And I know because in all your other interviews, like you always reference like how like you like hip hop and especially like 90s hip hop, like that golden era hip hop. But the podcasters or the interviewer, they never go deep with it. Yeah. Like I always want to hear them ask a follow-up question. So like, what's your shit? Like, what did you bump or what do you bump?
So in the context of this of your guys' world, Unsigned Hype ruled my life in high school.
In the Source, yeah.
I would literally buy the Source at like Krauser's and 7-Eleven, go to Unsigned Hype, read it, and then give the Source to my other buddies because that's all I cared about. I didn't care about the mics. It was crazy. And this is funny. This is why I've been good at I didn't realize it at the time. I have this religion about what's next.
Right.
That's why I did well with Twitter and Uber and Facebook, right? So I loved Unsigned Hype. First of all, it was early days. It was Beastie Boys and Fat Boys. Like going real old school.
I'm a closet Fat Boys fan.
Yeah, Fat Boys.
I mean, Beastie Boys, that's obvious. Everyone loves the Beastie Boys.
Yeah, but nobody brings up Fat Boys that often. KRS-One was a real big thing for me. And so the Chronic album was humongous for me in high school, right? That Too Short. The Ladies Pimp.
Let me find out you were bumping some Too Short, Gary
The Ladies
Vee.
Pimp was a real player for me. Too Short's anger, like underlining anger, really, like I could really roll with that. But then everything changed with the Biggie album. When Juicy came out, here's why. He painted a picture that I'd never seen before.
Right.
You know? And Nas was incredible, and the Chronic's absurd, and like there was so much good stuff out there, right? But nothing, and I mean nothing. I felt like I was part of I thought I was part of Biggie's crew.
Yeah, man.
Like
the storytelling was amazing, right?
Handle it. And then Bone Thugs. I was so crazy Bone Thugs, like Eazy-E Bone Thugs, like before Crossroads, like real heavy on them. So that was what was up. Mike Boyd, who's in studio with us right now, became real good friends with my brother in college, and he was on all the new stuff. And so very quickly in 2005, I had a resurgence of not just listening to my old school stuff, and I got into a little bit of Young Jock, Rick Ross, Kanye, Paul Wall, and that was fun. Early Nipsey Hussle stuff, which was really interesting to think back on. Then in 2009, when they graduated school, we started a blog called Hip Hop at Lunch, and Mike was writing about Nicki Minaj and Wiz Khalifa and Mac Miller when these cats had 5,000 followers on Twitter. So I got into that a little bit, but I completely went off and went triple deep, the deepest I've ever been about 18 months ago, when I started really getting back in the game, listening. And these days, it's like a lot of T Grizzly, Tierra Whack, Gunna, this new guy in Atlanta, Euro Got It, I really like. There's a lot of people that I think have a ton of talent.
Yeah.
I like a lot of the new stuff quite a bit. The Atlanta scene is so complex. You've got Russ, and you got the Migos, and you've got Childish Gambino. You got all sorts of different flavors and different things. YG and Nipsey give me so much. I'm very heavy about all that. Greedo, and so,
yeah, he was just up here too. Yeah,
I really like what he's doing. Obviously, he's got his stuff going on.
Right.
It's funny.
You like Tekashi? Like Tekashi?
You know what's funny? I haven't listened to a lot of Tekashi, but I defend Tekashi a lot because a lot of people want to hate on him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you can't hate on the fact that there's a reason a lot of 13, 14, 15-year-olds really go with it,
and I always say, I'm from LA, so I'm not supposed to say I like Tekashi, but I do like Tekashi, and I'm like, your music is supposed to piss off older people.
Of course it should.
Supposed to piss off older people.
I get so mad at my old hip hop friends saying this is all garbage. I'm like, that's what they said about our LL Cool J and and our Big Daddy Kane. Yeah. You don't remember being
They're
judged?
just stealing other people's music and cussing,
exactly.
and it's not even real music.
Motown, that's real music.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson, and so I get it, but I think that there's a Killy in Toronto is somebody that I like a whole lot. And then there's Big Crit, I think is such a real musical talent. So Ferg, I think A$AP Ferg is so creative.
Right.
Like A$AP Ferg, I think is different altogether. I think he could end up being an artist.
Yeah.
If you told me he was a painter in 20 years, I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. I can see that. And I told everybody, too, when he came out with ASAP and everybody, I was like, you know what? Ferg is the one. Everyone kind of gravitated towards ASAP, but I was like, nah, Ferg. He has just something about his delivery.
I think Ferg's got real longevity in his career, you know? I really, really, really do. Logic. I like Logic. T Grizzly, for me, though, is like really got my attention. I remember I listened to, like, with YFN, I listened to, like, 1,000 times in a row. I'm being serious. I can listen to like when First of the Month came out by Bone Thugs. This is not a joke. On tape, I listened to it 4,000 times in a row.
you kept track.
I kill songs. My friends don't like when I like a song because they know that if they liked it before, they're gonna hate it because I will bump it until your face falls off.
I do the same thing though, so I can't
help it.
All right, so this is my last hip hop question. I ask everyone this who comes through. What is Gary Vaynerchuk's top 5 rappers of all time?
B.I.G. for sure. God, I've been thinking a lot about this lately, actually. So usually I answer this pretty quickly, and Boyd's probably laughing, but I've been like really trying to get thoughtful about this. B.I.G. for sure. I got Bone Thugs for sure. I'll put them as like a groupie. God, I've really tried to get thoughtful with this. B.I.G. for sure. Bone Thugs for sure. KRS-One for sure. Man, it's
so far.
You know what's funny about it though? These new kids are really penetrating me heavy, and I'm like trying not to. You know what I hate about sports? Like a rookie comes along and everybody tries to make them all time before they got there. So the reason I'm pausing right now, I'm like, do I want to give anybody a cosign that's new? Or do I have to stay historical because it's tough to think about them historical because they're too young in the game?
I think there's a couple of relatively new cats that could potentially have that crown in the future. Like, I think you could make an argument for like
Lil
Kendrick.
Wayne, ready? Lil Wayne, 100%.
Okay, you can make an argument for Lil Wayne.
For 100% actually for me. If I'm just thinking about sheer listens, if I'm using data, sheer listens, the Carter albums are just, I work those things to death.
So we got Biggie.
Yep.
We got KRS-One.
Yes.
We got Lil Wayne.
Yes. Bone Thugs.
Bone Thugs.
And
this is tough, Gary. I like this. Gary Vee takes his top 5 list very serious.
My top 5 list is gotten really fucked with because it was really set for a while. Like, here are the people that are slipping out to give you context. Like, I really love Too Short. Like, that used to be like real easy for me to slide in. You know, there was a time Kanye, those first 3-4 albums in a row.
That's my favorite of all time.
Like Kanye's
gotta keep it real.
You know, those 3-4 albums like blew me completely away. So I'm trying to think, do I want to put Kanye in there? Though I haven't even listened to his last 3 albums, right? This is interesting, just to give you some real like dissecting. Hove was really interesting to me. I was so sad that B.I.G. died that I wouldn't let myself like Jay-Z because I thought it was circumstantial of his throne of Pac and Biggie.
That is true, though. I feel like a lot of rappers wouldn't have been popping if Biggie and Pac didn't die. And, you know, and as much as I love Jay-Z, I think him and maybe Nas wouldn't be as popular if Biggie and Tupac were still alive.
It's really, 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 really interesting that way, you know? It's really interesting to debate. I will say this. I'm convinced that Gunna or T Grizzly is going to be on that list in 10 years.
Now, you know, when this goes on the internet, people are going to see that. Yeah. And they're going to get really mad at you.
I don't think so. I think
T Grizzly? You think he's top 5?
I think T Grizzly, in the way that you know what's funny? I don't mind if 98% of the not smart judge me. If you actually understand why Pac and Jay-Z and Wayne and Biggie are on people's lists, it's because it's their storytellers. It is not the beats. It's the stories. If you watch carefully the way T Grizzly raps and writes.
You feel it. No, you feel it when he raps. I'll give you that.
He's a kid. Like, I'm watching him and I know him a little something. I just think he's got something in him like that.
I can feel that.
I can see it.
That's what I felt about Rest in Peace, but X, who just passed, man. I felt like he had that, no pun intended, but that X factor that was 100%. Like, you felt him.
That's why people reacted the way they did, even though he hadn't like really gotten there yet. It's because he's painting very, very clear pictures. Very clear pictures.
Yeah.
You know, Jeezy's, you know, like somebody, like Outkast was heavy for me for a minute. Actually, let me go real old school on you. I'm devastated that Travis Porter broke up.
Gary, you like low key like some like ratchet like pimp gangster shit kind of. You said Too Short, Travis Porter.
Too Short really affected me, like because it was like I like competition. I like aggression on the field. I like aggression on the field. Like, I don't want you really doing aggressive in real life, but like, I want to throw elbows in a basketball game.
Right.
I don't want to hurt you in real life.
Yeah, but you like the music where it's like you feel it and you know they're saying some real shit.
T Grizzly only raps about things that absolutely. He literal raps.
Right.
He literal raps.
You felt First Day Out.
Oh.
You feel it.
And I remember when he, if you go listen to I Remember right now, the opening line when he goes, yo, like $50 is still like $50 to me.
Right.
Even though he's getting $50K for a verse and $100 for a show, there's something real there.
Yeah.
There's something very real there. So before we put him on the list to finish it off, I'm going to put Kanye there because it's the truth.
Good choice.
Because it's the
Good
truth.
choice.
Because it's the truth.
Well, hey, Gary Vee, we kind of didn't get to it, but I mean, you got a shoe out.
Yes.
You got a new media. You got a lot going on, so it's like I don't know what to promote and not to promote.
Honestly,
but
my guy, you don't need to promote anything. It's Gary Vee on Instagram. They can find it. We take it from there.
That's what it is. Well, hey, thank you, man.
you.
This has
Thank
honestly
you.
been like a highlight of my career thus far. So
That's
definitely appreciate
humbling,
it, man.
knowing who's come through here. Thank you. Thanks for getting it. And by the way, on that same currency, I'm real curious what T Grizzly's career looks like in 18 years. When you rap literal and you tell the truth, like, and you can write bars like that are that clean and you feel like you're in the story, you've got leverage. So I hope that young dog keeps pushing.
That's what it is. Gary Vaynerchuk, 935 KDAY, 90s hip hop back in the day. Thank you, sir.